It's time for your SportsEdge.com Sideline Report with Todd Griffin. Talking sports and more here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY and worldwide at WPKYOnline.com. Here's your host, Todd Griffin.
Good morning, everyone. The Sideline Report is on the air from 1035 West Main Street in Princeton. This is Todd Griffin of WPKY Radio and your SportsEdge.com. Got another big show lined up today. First of all, Ed Marlowe from the Edge Media Group is with us, and a little bit later on, Melissa Thomas, former Lady Tiger basketball and softball head coach, and a former Lady Tiger basketball and softball player herself, will be here in the studio with us. So lots going on here on the Sideline Report this morning, but again, we're going to start the day with Ed Marlowe from the Edge Media Group. And Ed, first of all, thanks for making the trip over this morning, and thanks for being on the show.
It's only 55 minutes from my front door to this office. I coasted in on gasoline fumes just right as you started the show, so it was absolutely perfect timing. It's almost like a drive-through. It would be like a drive-through microphone where people could like drive through for your interview. Yeah. Poking out of the studio, and people could just, kind of show up and be on your show. But yeah, I always love to come to Princeton. It's a great time.
Well, we do have a drop box that used to be a drive-through window, so we'd have to run a mic cord out, through the door and out to the office and out the window. But
that sounds like
we'd be good to go right there. You may have read Ed's work in the past at another publication, and now we're glad to tell you that he's with the Edge Media Group, and he's one of ours. So, Ed, tell everybody kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah. I don't mind mentioning it at all. I spent a lot of time writing for the Murray State News when I was in college for, ever, 8 years actually. And then jumped into the Murray Ledger and Times, and then went to the Paducah Sun, and of course, Paxton Media owning all those newspapers. I was able to write for the Times Leader, the Herald Ledger, the Tribune Courier in Marshall County, Mayfield Messenger, and have moved on from that, and am now a news reporter for this organization for News Edge Media Group, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I've had a lot to stick to sports. And to answer that question, as I have so many times, if the time allows it, I'll jump in some sports coverage. I've already done a couple of little things, checking in on the Lady Lions. Was able to report that Callista Collins was coming back for another senior year under SB 128. But I think there will be some sports opportunities. But 85% of my job, I would say, will be a news reporter in the Cadiz, Princeton, and Hopkinsville area. Whatever suits, I'll be around for it.
Well, we certainly hope you can find time to help us at yoursportsedge.com, especially with the fall sports season coming up, because I'm not sure there's a busier time of the year for the sports guys than fall sports.
I think the one thing that Scott Brown, Tom, and I have also talked about is the possibility of me covering extensively some high school football. But you're not wrong. I've always tried to debate which is busier, the spring or the fall. I'd say the winter is kind of the happy medium. You got a little bit of wrestling, you got basketball.
There's a little swimming in there.
A little bit of swimming, exactly. Archery, if you jump into that. But I would say if there were two sides of a coin, I'd say spring and spring and fall are equally busy. But yeah, fall is a little busier because you're having to preview almost every single sport. And a lot of times what ends up happening is everybody jumps back into school. So there's just so much sports news in front of you. You have to pick and choose. And you get golf, I think. Golf getting started so quickly. So, yeah, the fall can be really busy.
Don't you think that somehow the spring sports, though, are more laid back? I mean, I'm not sure I've ever understood the complete dynamic there, but somehow it seems like you get ready for the fall sports season, and like you say, school starting back up, so there's kind of that rush. And it just seems like when you get to spring, everybody's like, hey, it's warming back up again. We can get outside. Everybody's just happy, and it's a different feel to it.
I think the thing about the spring is you look at the diamond sports, you look at baseball and softball, and you realize potentially havoc or, unfortunately, a once-in-a-100-year pandemic, you have 30 to 35 games to really get the sense of a baseball or a softball team in the first and second region, or really anywhere in Kentucky. But the thing about track and field, you have a limited amount of time. So that you've got to that's got to speed up. You've got to get involved in that pretty quick. Then tennis, the tennis schedule can be rather extensive. So a lot of times to get a feel for a tennis program, you can, maybe catch a couple of events before you, go to the regional tournament or so on and so forth. And I think I will say maybe the spring feels a little more laid back because you are outside and you are more relaxed. But, man, it really can be just as busy. You take a look at the championship season of a spring, and you've got, back-to-back regional championships. And then a lot of times, luckily for us, Todd, you know as well as anybody around here in the first and second region, that, you got a lot that are going to succeed and do well at the state tournament level.
They're going to play for a while. Yeah.
County did this past year. What a team they've got. You look at Caldwell County tennis under Belle Engelbright over the last few years. I know she's graduated and moved on, but I know that kept you busy, Todd, over those 3 to 4 years. Lexington, I always laughed. As a sports reporter, Lexington is a conclave month. I'd say like in the month of May and June, you'll see every single sports reporter you're friends with or either in Lexington at a state tournament or somewhere in a regional tournament, and the camaraderie that comes with that in the state of Kentucky is second to none.
Well, and another thing, there used to be a bit of a gap in the summer. It seems like when I first started covering sports, June and July, you were really struggling to try to find content. And even on into August for a week or two sometimes,
sure,
because it seems like the fall sports started a little bit later than they do now. Well, now the fall sports have gotten ramped up. Golf begins later this month. The spring sports keep expanding, it seems like, so they go into June and, this season even July a little bit. So that 2.5-month gap that you used to kind of have between sports seasons is kind of shrinking and well, thanks to COVID, almost gone this year.
Yeah, I think the dead period truly might have been a dead period this year. But that was the quickest 2.5 weeks I've seen in a dead period in a long time, just because, you're exactly right, Todd. You've got a lot of, young individuals, early graduates that are maybe headed into the college world and college athletics. You have a lot of kids that have been just so involved. If it's not travel baseball, it's travel softball. It's not that. It's the Go Series or the Bluegrass Tour for golf, which I believe you had Chris on the show earlier. Last week, right. Chris is a good contact for me. I very much enjoyed covering some Bluegrass Tour events when I was at the Paducah Sun. So, it's one of those things. You're exactly right. All of those. And then we haven't even mentioned the fact that, there's off-season track and field and tennis that, kids are busy with. You pick a sport and there's a way for them to stay active. And summer basketball, I'd be very remiss if I didn't mention that. They were able to get back to normal this summer. So I've already been to 2 basketball camps. So you pick a sport and you're going to be able to play it throughout the summer.
I covered volleyball Tuesday night, so there you go.
Yeah. The crazy thing is that volleyball is one of those terrific sports that, they've got to get ramped up. I'm glad you mentioned it because it is also part of the fall and winter series. And you've got you look at the last 2 years, McCracken and Caldwell County volleyball have vied for regional championships and pushed themselves into state tournament consideration. So that's kept this side of the state very busy late into the fall months.
Actually played each other last year in the first round of the state volleyball tournament, which was played here, so it was a short trip for me.
Yeah, but amazing matchup. My former coworker David Snow and I talked a lot about it. I luckily he was able to cover it for us. I was still at the Sun at the time, and what a matchup and what a game for both of those two teams.
Talking this morning with Ed Marlowe of the Edge Media Group. Need to get to a break here on the show, but we'll come back and talk more about sports after this on 1580 103.3 WPKY.
Need cash fast? Get the money you need. Call ABC Finance now.
It seems like everyone is going on vacation except you. There's nothing you'd love more than to escape with your family for a few days.
Don't let money worry stop you. Visit ABC Finance.
Hi, this is Jody Lamb at the Princeton ABC Finance location.
And this is Todd Morse at the Hopkinsville location.
We can help you take that family vacation you've been dreaming about.
At ABC Finance, we provide loans up to $15,000.
We are locally owned and staffed, and decisions are made quickly, usually within an hour.
No appointment is needed. Walk-ins are welcome.
You can even give us a call and we will take your application over the phone.
Or you can apply online at abcfinanceonline.com.
And like us on Facebook.
ABC Finance in Hopkinsville on Fort Campbell Boulevard next to O'Charlie's and in Princeton Plaza. ABC Finance. All loans subject to normal credit approval.
They say variety is the spice of life. We all want choices. Men and women want to pick what they want. When it's time to select that special truck, Trice Hughes in Princeton has the variety. 3 brands to choose from: Chevrolet, GMC, and Ram. Whether you're a farmer, whether you're pulling a camper with your favorite person, or whether you just want to drive a truck, Trice Hughes in Princeton has your truck. Stop by and pick out your truck today.
Find them on Highway 91 North Princeton or at tricehughes.com.
Goodwin Insurance Agency and Woodall Agency have great news. Effective January 1st, they have joined forces to provide even more options for all your insurance needs. Together, they provide the best prices and coverage from top-rated insurance companies and insure all lines of insurance. See Tori Hammett or Fred Foltz, or go to insurewithgoodwin.com for more information. Don't pay too much for your insurance. Let them shop for you and save today.
The Great Wall Chinese Restaurant in Princeton is open for inside dining. Stop in and enjoy a delicious, authentic Chinese buffet every day for lunch and dinner. You can also order for carryouts. They are open Tuesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. They are closed on Mondays. The Great Wall Chinese Restaurant is located at 420 U.S. Highway 62 in Princeton and is now open for inside dining so you can enjoy their delicious buffet. Or call in your pickup orders to 270-365-9920.
Back on the Sideline Report here at 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Ed Marlowe of the Edge Media Group in the studio with us right now. A little bit later on, we'll be joined by Melissa Thomas, former Lady Tiger basketball and softball head coach and a former Lady Tiger player as well. So excited to get her on the show for the first time. Ed, you've been on the show before, so you kind of know the routine. And I know you've been keeping up with some NBA basketball here lately, so tell us how things are going there.
Was that a Lady Gaga tease?
Yeah, I think it might have been, yeah.
That's awesome.
For those, but
I kind of like it, though.
You know, I might come up with some different things at one point.
I listen to all kinds of different music, but to have a little Lady Gaga tease us into this next segment is not so bad. But
well, my bump backs would probably be a little heavier than that, probably, just from what I listen to. But.
Answer a sports question, I promise. I was listening to Octane 37 and 41 on XM radio. I listen to a lot of hard rock, but I also listen to some country. I wouldn't work at 106.5 if I didn't. Yeah. And I listen to a lot of classic rock. So
right there, WPKY.
Yeah, absolutely. And we listen. So I listen to PKY and HVO in house. My office is in Cadiz, my hometown, and so it's been good to have like 2 sets of classic radio stations like in each year.
Yeah.
That's been enjoyable. But I've been watching NBA basketball. I've always enjoyed NBA basketball. I still vividly remember I'd say maybe the later years of Magic Johnson and the early years of Michael Jordan. To age myself here, being born in 85. You know, I was 6 as I was starting to come into realization of how good Magic Johnson was,
and the 80s and the
Michael
90s
Jordan
were the golden years for the NBA.
Absolutely, Isaiah Thomas and so on and so forth, and then of course the later years of the Boston Celtics. But obviously, having been a Murray State beat reporter for men's basketball for the last 7 years, and then after having graduated from Murray State University and actually being in class with Isaiah Cannon and even some of those younger guys. When I first went to Murray State in 2003, I mean, that was Mick Cronin and those guys. And so, it didn't take me long. I wasn't a huge college basketball fan growing up. I mean, I liked Kentucky because it was tangential to the area, and it's what you learned. Rick Pitino and Jamal Mashburn, Tony Delk, so on and so forth, and then later Tubby Smith. But for me, I started to really fall in love with the game of college basketball when I had a Division I program on my campus. And so I started going to Murray State men's basketball games, I'd say in the mid-2000s, probably 2007, 2008 when I started to really kind of get into it. And jumping into the NBA, you have right now in the NBA Finals, former Murray State racer and lottery pick Cameron Payne. Had a decent game last night, a couple of rough moments, but he had a couple really big shots. Great game last night between Milwaukee and the Phoenix Suns. Cam's career has been really interesting to follow. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Ja Morant. Was blessed. I've really enjoyed my sports time in Western Kentucky, but I don't want to play favorites, but I would say watching Ja Morant grow at Murray State is certainly in my top 5 to 10 different types of stories that have developed while I was, under the careful watch of all of that. So his 2 years at Murray State were really special. Was a number 2 pick in the 2019 NBA draft, and then to just kind of watch him blossom into what he is right now, and with so much left in his career, has been a lot of fun. So that's keyed me into the NBA, especially just over these last 18 months.
Well, and the series tied 2-2. So
it's been a great series. Did you watch the game last night?
I didn't get to see it. I was busy last night, and honestly, anymore I almost forget about professional sports.
No, I understand.
I'm so busy with high school stuff and getting ready for the upcoming season that, I forgot about the All-Star game this week.
Yeah.
I saw the highlights later and saw those ugly uniforms. I'm kind of glad I didn't see it.
Yeah, you didn't miss much. Pete Alonso, really cool that he was able to secure back-to-back home run trophies. What Shohei Ohtani has been doing this year has been unbelievable. But, going back to the NBA and all of that, last night's game was great. Game 4, I think Cam had 9 points on 4 for 7 shooting. He's had a really nice playoff run. He's kind of running himself into a situation where he's probably going to be a pivotal piece for the Phoenix Suns moving forward. And without going into too much detail, you can look up his story. But, Cam was a 2015 lottery pick out of Murray State, first lottery pick in Murray State history. And so, he got to the NBA. Some things didn't work out for him at Oklahoma City, and seemed like things were going well, but he was part of a trade package to Chicago. And then his career kind of got off track after that. He had a couple of tough injuries and went to play overseas, and then and then got an opportunity in the G League with the Dallas Mavericks, and from there did so well that Monty Williams last year, going into the bubble with Devin Booker and the Suns, they were on the fringe of making the playoffs. They still had Ricky Rubio, they still had a few guys, and they picked up Cameron Payne, and Payne was incredible in the bubble down in Florida, and went on to do some really special things, and now is a big part of their rotation.
Well, talked about that a little bit last week with Dave Winder from Murray State, who was on the show. And
Dave's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, I remember there was some kind of comment on Twitter that the Chicago Bulls had where they said by the second practice we could tell that Cam Payne couldn't play at this level. And I'm like, well, how many guys come in, though, to the NBA and are ready to play at that level first practice on?
It's tough. And part of that trade, too, Chicago is such a volatile fan base anyways for any sport. And so, the tough part about it, and again, there's no question that Cam struggled early in his career. There's no sugarcoating that. He'd be the first to tell you that. The work ethic maybe wasn't there, that maybe he didn't realize that, hey, this is going to be a heck of a lot harder than it is at the college level. This is a guy that averaged 20 points per game, his sophomore year in college. He had pretty much figured the college game out. And so, going into the NBA, there were some things he had to figure out. And then he wasn't healthy. There were some issues with some metatarsals. A couple of metatarsals just wouldn't heal properly. He had a wrist injury early on that kind of kept him from some significant minutes early behind Russell Westbrook. So when he got traded to Chicago, he just wasn't, like I said, you go and listen to some of his comments. He wasn't physically and mentally ready for the rigors of the NBA. And I think a lot of that, when he went to the Texas Legends and was averaging like 24 and 25 points per game and working out every single day, you take a look at Cameron Payne going into the NBA, and you take a look at Cameron Payne now, his body is a complete transformation right now. And that's a lot of credit to himself, Phoenix Suns, and the way that they've molded him over these last 18 months.
Well, and I'm not sure anyone who goes to the NBA is ready for the grind of 82 games and then the playoffs. Nobody's ever played that many games in a season before you get there.
Yeah, and you're playing. He's playing 22 minutes a game right now, yeah. And there's a lot of guys that are playing 40, 41, and he's having to come in and give the same effort that they're giving in half as much time. So, it's excuses for him. I know the early start to his career wasn't exactly ideal, wasn't what he was looking for, certainly wasn't what John Morant's been doing over the first 2 years of his career as an NBA Rookie of the Year, and then replicating those same stats in year 2 and leading the Memphis Grizzlies to the playoffs, putting up multiple 20 and 30-point games against the Utah Jazz in the first round. Phoenix was a good team already. Cam is helping with that. John Morant is part of a core in Memphis that, number one, not only is it close by to this market, people from Princeton, Hopkinsville, Cadiz, Murray, Western Kentucky can go down to Memphis and see games, but Ja is delivering. So it's a cool time for Murray State men's basketball fans who like to watch the NBA because they've got 2 good players right now.
I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here, but talking of Murray State and the OVC, I saw another thing on Twitter the other day. I spend quite a bit of time on Twitter.
We have to. It's part of the job.
Saw where it said that Eastern Kentucky, as of July 1st, was no longer a member of the OVC.
And Jackson State.
But the Eastern Kentucky thing kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. I knew they were leaving. I knew they had a new home, but when you see that Eastern Kentucky is no longer a member of the OVC and they were a founding member,
one of the first 3, Western Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, and Murray State.
So, it's kind of a difficult thing, but I think I understand Eastern's position, and it was probably a football thing, but kind of weird not having Eastern Kentucky. And, of course, I used to say the same thing about Western Kentucky when they left, that it was weird having an OVC without those teams there.
Well, about it, too. Eastern Kentucky, if you go back and you do a little bit of research, it's pretty well documented. EKU wanted out of the conference several years ago, and they were a finalist to join the Sun Belt. But the Sun Belt, if I'm not mistaken, took Coastal Carolina because Coastal was more prepared in several different sports to take on new revenues, so to speak. Their facilities were just a bit more upgraded. And like I said, I'm not a for conference changes, but if you take a look at what was as compared to Coastal Carolina, you'll see why Coastal ended up getting the nod. And then you take a look at how good Coastal's been in college football, how good they were last year, the Chanticleers, and then you take a look at how good their baseball team has been, and they've been to a World Series, I believe, in the last 5 years. Double check my math there, but the EKU at some point they'd made it pretty clear in the mid-2000s, 2010s that they were looking elsewhere to expand their revenue, and that was definitely based on football.
Could you ever see a scenario where Murray State leaves the OVC?
Oh, man. Put me on the spot. In 20...
there have been some connections drawn here or there, but I don't think there's ever been anything seriously discussed.
When the Missouri Valley extended its invitation, I think I've been told by multiple sources that situation was very fluid one way or another. I've had some people tell me that Murray State's bid to the Missouri Valley maybe wasn't good enough to warrant any sort of interest. But I've also been told that the Missouri Valley was extremely interested in expanding into 12 teams that year, and they couldn't get Belmont to come with Murray. So I don't know. Interesting. The Missouri Valley footprint, I think, fits Murray State really well. But I will say over the last 2 or 3 years, the Ohio Valley Conference has been able to be a multi-bid league in multiple sports. So that's a tough call. Really, a lot of things are about to present themselves in the tea leaves as to where things need to go. You have to look at this situation from both sides. Would Murray State benefit from a jump to the Missouri Valley? I think in the long run, sure, but it's extremely costly to change conferences, particularly to go up in conferences. I love the Ohio Valley Conference, but I'd be silly to say that the Missouri Valley is worse than the Ohio Valley Conference. It's not. It would be a step up in competition. That being said, COVID really turns a wrench in a lot of different plans. And I've been told by multiple sources that the Ohio Valley Conference is extensively seeking to replace Eastern Kentucky and Jacksonville State. I don't know with how many teams. You'd like to think it's an even number between 2 and 4. 4, a remarkable change to the Ohio Valley Conference. 2 would probably be more the ballpark. If you even got one team that maybe had baseball, football, and men's and women's basketball to keep Title IX in balance. I think that would be interesting. But I don't know. It remains to be seen. The original question you asked, though, I don't years ago, you would have seen Murray State make the jump if they had made the financial commitment. But now with Kevin Saul having discussed his financial, his master plan that they'll probably put into motion over the next, 8 to 10 years if everything lines out okay, and some things even earlier than that, then you have to wonder where would the financial commitment come. You'd have to increase your budget. I did the math on this. On average, you'd have to increase your your athletic budget $8 to $10 million to join the Missouri Valley consistently, and then you have all the added travel on top of that. I did 3 years ago when all of this came about. The amount of travel wouldn't particularly, on average, for all sports, all Division I sports, wouldn't change that much, but you'd have to fly a lot more. So I don't know where it all balances out. It'd be interesting to see. But for now, Murray State's comfortable in the Ohio Valley Conference, and they're looking to stay on a winning track to keep containing championships and the Commissioner's Cup.
Ed Marlowe of the Edge Media Group is with us. And, Ed, next time you come over, we're going to talk Marvel and get into Loki and Black Widow. And I haven't seen the last one yet, so don't spoil it.
Right now in a national conference, and so Friday night we're going to watch the final episode of Loki. I just finished Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I thought was really good. I had not watched it when it first came out, and then I'm going to go see Black Widow either tonight or later this weekend when I get a free minute.
All right, I've already seen it.
I've heard
it was pretty good.
And I've heard no spoilers or anything, but I have heard the final cut scene that we always get after ties directly to Winter Soldier. So that's why I went ahead and binged it last weekend and really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
Was awesome. That's what I'm really looking forward to the finale, but WandaVision was moving, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll get into that next time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming over today. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. I'm going to go get breakfast now.
Yeah, all right. That's Ed Marlowe of the Edge Media Group. Again, thanks for coming over today. Melissa Thomas is up next here on the Sideline Report. Stay with us here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Raider Auction Company, Hopkinsville, buys and sells farm equipment every day. Find out more at RaiderAuctionCompany.com. That's ROEDER AuctionCompany.com.
Your WPKY Weather Center forecast. Going to be another hot and humid day across the region. High 90 today with sunny skies. Slight chance of showers between about 4 and 7 o'clock this afternoon. Partly cloudy skies otherwise tonight, down to 70. 60% chance of showers, thunderstorms Friday, high 89. Showers, thunderstorms continuing Saturday and Sunday, higher at 83 both days. 90 under sunny skies today with that slight chance of showers, thunderstorms this afternoon. Currently, it's 70 degrees.
Get ready for back to school with Health First Community Health Center, offering physicals, immunizations, ADHD treatment, and well child, sick child visits. At Health First, we offer affordable, quality health care for the entire family. We accept K-CHIP, Medicaid, Medicare, and all major commercial insurance. A discount program is available based on income and household size. Call today to make your appointment at 1-877-667-7017.
Summer is here. It's time for you and your family to hit the road on vacation or take that trip to the beach you've been dreaming of. This is Stephanie, manager of Purcell Tire in Princeton. Our summer car care package includes an oil and filter change, a fluid top-off, a tire rotation and tire check, a brake inspection, and a complete vehicle safety inspection. Come see us today at Purcell Tire, Highway 62 West in Princeton, or call 270-365-7291. Find out more at PurcellTire.com.
Back on the Sideline Report at 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Again, thanks to Ed Marlowe for coming in and being on the show today. Now joined by Melissa Thomas, former Lady Tiger coach. And Melissa, do you want to talk about Loki and the Marvel comics and those kind of things? Or
I'd rather move on to sports, Todd, if you don't mind.
Well, we can do that. And I did want to point out that you hold a distinction. You were the last person that I interviewed when I was the sports editor of the Times Leader, and you were the first coach I interviewed at your Sports Edge.
Wow. Well,
as a matter
that's
of fact,
prestigious.
Yeah, if I hadn't talked to Bella McConnell before I talked to you, you were the person I interviewed at your Sports Edge.
Well, Todd, we have a lot of history, and I appreciate all you've done for Caldwell County sports and, well, sports in the surrounding communities as well. I mean, you're probably one of the hardest working people that I know as far as the way you cover our sports and cover our community. We are so blessed here that, sports in Princeton, Caldwell County is a priority, and our community's kind of built on that, and it's because you keep us in the know, and you've kept our parents and our fans and in the know, and it's allowed those traditions to continue to be established in that communication and this exposure for our athletes. And man, it's the cornerstone of this community, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Well, when you look back to your playing days, does it seem like it was that long ago?
Yes.
Does it?
Well, and my kids are getting into sports, and they make me feel old quick, I'll tell you, especially when I'm trying to get out there and work with them a little bit. But, being a Caldwell County product and a graduate, and it gives me a tremendous sense of pride in the program. And I love all sports, Todd. I played basketball and softball, but I love being a part of all the sports. And now, now that my kids are old enough to start really getting into it, I think we have almost all the sports covered, actually.
Yeah. Oh, really? So you get to go to everything now?
I mean, we're basketball, softball, and that's, I'm a lover of all sports, and so that's been fun for me.
Well, you were a two-sport standout, basketball and softball. As a matter of fact, for me, it doesn't seem that long ago. I can remember taking pictures of you playing basketball and softball. So, sometimes I look back at how long I've been doing this, but it doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Well, time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. So, sometimes it feels like I can't hardly remember it, and then sometimes, you have those flashbacks and those memories and that's the great thing about sports and athletics. Lives are changed through sports and athletics, and for me, it was my thing, and it was really a platform for me, and it's, basically set the tone for my career. And for that, I'm forever grateful. And I've seen lives changed, not only as a player, but through my coaching days. I've seen lives changed through sports. And it's such a valuable tool for our young people, and getting involved in things at a young age and learning those commitment and teamwork and work ethic and all those things that go into being a part of a team contribute to all aspects of lives. And so being able to, now I feel like I'm on the outside looking in, being on the outside looking in and trying to establish these things and guide my own children through these things, the value in sports, youth sports all the way through, is so much more than a game.
Well, and I've even heard coaches say, usually standing there when coaches are talking to their team after that last loss, and coaches will tell players, whether you had a great season or not a great season, they will say, you won't remember the wins and losses 20 years from now, but what you'll remember is the moments, the bus trips, the time in the locker room, the time going to this, that you'll remember your teammates and your coaches, and you won't remember, we lost a game to Lyon County, whatever date it was, you just don't remember those things.
There's absolutely nothing more true than that. I cannot tell you what our records were. I can't tell you any of that other than when I look back when you post the stats
I've
somewhere.
I've got those.
If I want to know something, I usually call. You don't remember those things, but you remember the relationships, and you do remember some of the tough times. And the thing about that is, you don't remember how hard it was, but you remember fighting through those things. You remember, man, that was hard, but we got through it. And so those are those life lessons. Once again, learning how to work with people that are different from you. A team, especially in a community like this, there are kids brought together from so many different dimensions, and you have to learn to work with people that you normally wouldn't choose to work with. And so those are things that carry over into life after high school.
Well, looking back to your time as a Lady Tiger, what do you remember?
those relationships. I had some really great coaches. I had some great teammates. I remember just community support. You think that what you do doesn't matter, Todd, but it does, because I remember those newspaper clippings, that my mom gathered. I still have those things. Those are precious to me now. And so I'm able to look back at those things and share those with my children. I remember just, you remember the championships and cutting down the nets. Those were fun times. But you also remember just those close-knit relationships that are developed through team.
Now, you were able to go on and play basketball at the University of Memphis. Did you have any opportunities to play softball too? Well,
the thing about it is I could have played college softball, but the money was in basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball is a revenue-producing sport, so those full scholarships plus opportunities were available in basketball. And so I'm extremely blessed to be able to have that opportunity to play college basketball and essentially get my education paid for.
Well, when you think back, what's the biggest difference between playing high school sports and then playing college sports?
Well, college sport, you hear people say that it becomes more of a business, and it is a business in that the expectations for your time, the expectations for basically everything you do is geared around that basketball team. And so in order to compete at that level, you have to put that kind of time in. It's more of a job because you're spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day in some capacity focusing on that support.
Now, at what point in your playing career did you decide you wanted to be a coach at some point?
I'd say fairly early. I think I have such a passion for the game. Whenever I saw the influence that I was able to have at the college level, because I had no idea as a high school student that people actually looked up to me. I didn't get that until I got to college. So, when I got to college, and then I had, people asking me for my autograph. I mean, that took me by total shock and surprise.
That's got to be cool, though.
It was cool, but I was like, what is going on here? Why? I didn't understand it for quite some time. And then that's when I understood how valuable sports can be. When we did a lot of community experiences when I was in college. We would go to elementary schools, and we would have speaking engagements, and we would have these opportunities to connect to younger people and establish our role as a role model. And so once I realized that my realm of influence was great simply because I was a good basketball player. Once I established that, I thought, I need to use this because God has blessed me with this talent and this ability and this passion for the game, and I need to use that as much as I can to expand that realm of influence.
Talking this morning with Malissa Thomas, former Lady Tiger and former coach with the Caldwell County basketball and softball programs. Need to get to a break here on the show, but we'll be back with more right after this here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Fredonia Valley Bank.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast. Sunny skies today. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms after about 4 o'clock this afternoon. High 90 degrees. Tonight, a 10% chance of showers, thunderstorms before 7 o'clock, otherwise partly cloudy, down to 70. The 60% chance of showers, thunderstorms through the day tomorrow, high 89. Expecting sunny skies for most of the day today. May see a few isolated showers, thunderstorms this afternoon, high 90. Currently, we're 70 degrees.
Summer vacations, a cruise, or a family or class reunions to attend? Or maybe you're ready for a whole new look, a whole new wardrobe? Step into the Joshua Tree Boutique. It's unlike any other store around. Rhonda Stone, owner, has a real eye for fashion, and she loves picking out classic pieces along with trendy pieces, and she loves color and gorgeous jewelry as well. So if you're looking for beautiful classic fashions, step into the Joshua Tree Boutique. The Joshua Tree Boutique is the perfect boutique for the lady with a flair for fashion. Oh, and there's almost always a sale rack too. The Joshua Tree Boutique. 110 East Court Street, Princeton.
Don't use tires and wheels, where the customer is always number one. So when life's throwing you a number two, just remember, Dunks Tires and Wheels, because we'll be here for you. We sell used custom wheels and tires and do plug and patch repair. We have all tread styles and sizes in stock. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and on call for emergencies. Call 270-963-6391. Don't use tires and wheels, where the customer is always number one.
This is the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Joined by Melissa Thomas, former Lady Tiger standout, former Lady Tiger coach. And Melissa, I know you got to coach a little bit with Al Giordana back in the day. And, of course, think a whole lot of Coach G. And I know you have to have some great Coach G stories.
I do. I'm not sure if I could share any of them here on the radio. Coach G, the one thing that he taught me is just to care about kids. He taught me the value in just when you love these girls, when you love those girls the way he did, they'll run through a brick wall for you. And I was able to coach with him in the very beginning of my coaching career. So once he taught me that, and just I saw through him the power in that, it really set the tone for the rest of my coaching career.
Well, he would hold you accountable, but he would also come back and encourage you. I think if you're older, you remember coaches yelling at you a whole lot, but sometimes you don't remember the encouragement part. But he would, they talk about breaking you down and building you back up, and that's what he would do.
It is, and I used to kid with him because he could say things that I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I told him it was the grumpy old man effect. The girls he could say whatever he needed to them. And they would respond, and that's because, like you said, he would go. They knew that he loved them, and they knew he was doing it out of a place of love, and he cared about them, and he just wanted them to give their best and do their best. And so looking back on my coaching career, that was a highlight. I was able to spend 3 years with him, and he just taught me so much just about what the foundations of coaching should look like.
Well, and he was kind of old school in the fact that. The three most important things were always fundamentals, fundamentals, fundamentals.
Absolutely, and that's all sports. That simple fact can carry over anything that you coach and everything that you do. And so he was fun. He was a fun guy to be around, and I enjoyed him very much. And so he's and for me to have the opportunity to work so close with him early in my career, I'll never take that for granted.
Well, and you got to coach softball, got to coach basketball. You had some really good Lady Tiger basketball teams. Won the district a couple of times, beating Madisonville when I don't think anybody really picked you guys to do that.
We had several championships and we weren't supposed to win any of them.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest thing about coaching is when you see kids just not overperform, because and every year I thought we should have won a championship, and so that's the expectation that we had set. And then those teams that believed that, and those teams that really bought into the things that we were trying to do, were the teams that were the most successful.
Well, if you go back to the old 5th District run, I think it was about 15 years in a row the Lady Tigers won it, then got moved over to the 7th District, which I don't think the 5th District was sad to see the Lady Tigers go after that point, but it did become just a little bit more difficult to compete for those championships when you look over there and there's Madisonville and Hopkins County Central and those kind of schools.
What happened? And so I honestly, the talk was, well, Caldwell it's not going to be the same. They're not going to be able to compete in the 7th District. And I'm going to be honest, that made me angry because as a player and being a part of those 15 5th District championships, partly as a player and then as a coach and as an assistant coach, I was offended, when people were saying that we would have a harder time competing in the 7th. So I took that chip on my shoulder a little bit when I took the job at Caldwell. And, yes, we can. We can be the top of this district just like we were the 5th. And so that expectation I hopefully carried over into the program, and it allowed us, I feel like, to win some championships along the way.
I can see where the other 5th District schools kind of come from, though, because Caldwell County was the largest school in the 5th District at the time. Of course, I think Trigg County is actually larger now enrollment-wise, but at the time, Caldwell was the big school, so Caldwell was kind of the school keeping the little schools down at that point.
Yeah, being at Lyon, I was able to get a different perspective on it, and it made sense. It definitely made sense at the time, and those schools were relieved, and that's a testament to the tradition of the Caldwell County Tigers as well.
Now, when you look back, do you have any favorite moments as a coach, or, again, is it just the relationships with all the kids?
it's hard to pinpoint. All of my special moments have been when my players were able to accomplish individual things, and just being a part of their lives. And my family took on the coaching as it was a family thing for us. And so any player that was on my team became part of my family. And so the highlights are not only things that happened then, but things that happen now. When my former players call me up and they've accomplished something and they want to share that with me. Those are the special moments for me now.
Well, when you look at players and they come in, what's the one thing you're trying to get across to those players? Is it something sports-wise, or is it something deeper than that?
It's just those fundamental things. It's those life skills that they're going to carry with them beyond basketball. It's that work ethic. It's the commitment. It's being on time. It's teaching them that 5 minutes early is 10 minutes late. It's those things that are going to help them be successful adults. Those are the things that are most valuable. And it took me a while to learn that. When I first started coaching, it was to win a state championship. And still, ultimately, that's the goal. However, you see those successes that by teaching these kids these things and how to be successful people in general in life, that's where the championships are.
We're talking this morning with Malissa Thomas, former Lady Tiger coach. This is the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY, Princeton, Kentucky. Melissa, are we ever going to see you coach again? What kind of odds you got to give me on that?
Well, I'm coaching the 5th or 6th grade team right now. Hang up the whistle. You never truly hang up the whistle. I'm coaching right now on my job. Being the principal of the elementary school. Coaching never goes away. That's what I do. Coaches are encouraged. They support. And they teach. And so I'm doing that within my own family, and I've got my own team at home right now. And then I love being the principal at the elementary school and being able to be that for adults now instead of kids, as well as kids, has been a challenge for me, but it's also been very rewarding. So I'm very comfortable where I am in life, and so my coaching now is going to be probably in the backyard with my tribe.
Well, I was going to say you've got your own starting 5 now, yeah. So that kind of pulls you a bunch of different ways, I'm guessing.
Because I'm playing some sports that I know very little about. And that's fun too. Yes, I am coaching. I've got a couple that do play basketball, so I'm getting to do that, getting my hands in there a little bit with that. But I'm also enjoying just encouraging them and being a mom and being able to sit in the stands and just watch.
So you get to see volleyball and soccer and all those sports.
Volleyball, soccer, track, softball, and then my little guy's probably going to play football. We have all sports covered. The only thing I can think of we don't do is we're not into tennis or golf or wrestling, but all the team sports we have those covered. So I'm all over the place at sporting events in Caldwell County.
Well, that's good. Appreciate you coming in today. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
I just want to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You asked me to come in today, and I couldn't tell you no because you have done so much for our community and our kids throughout the years, and man, I owe you.
Well, I appreciate it because I kind of asked you at the last minute, and I was glad you were able to come in and be on the show today. And I wish we had a few more moments to talk about, some of the things you did because you're a 1,000-point scorer at Caldwell County, those kind of things. I'm not sure people remember those kind of things. Like I said, you had some really good basketball teams. You were part of the softball program that, at one time, Caldwell County softball program was the best in the second region, and hopefully we can get back to that level at some point. And I know they're working toward that, so there are a lot of things we could talk about.
There are. I'd rather focus on today. Talk about myself, but I love Caldwell County. I love sports, and so anytime you want to talk about sports, if I'm available, I'll be
all right.
Here.
I'll hold you to that.
All right, yes, sir.
And you can watch Low Key and Black Widow, and then we'll come in and talk about those too. All right, thanks, Melissa. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Todd.
That's Melissa Thomas, former Lady Tiger, former basketball coach, softball coach at Caldwell County. Appreciate her being on the show today. Also, thanks to Ed Marlowe of the Edge Media Group for coming in. That's going to wrap it up on the Sideline Report today. This is Todd Griffin. Thanks for being with us here on 1580 103.3 WPKY.
WPKY Princeton.